Okay, again. Look at your books on page 22. These are, let's say the objectives of our lesson. We're going to use the present perfect progressive, present perfect, showing, the difference between the two tenses. Also, we are going to, use the adjectives plus prepositions, and that they must followed by what? They must be followed by ing form. Okay. You remember when we talked about, the present perfect, we said that the present perfect is used with actions started in the past, happening up to now, and, may continue in the future. Now we have another tense, which is, the present perfect progressive. It also, functions like, the present perfect. So they are the same. They are the same because, they are used with actions started in the past, happening up to now, and may continue in the future. But here, if you look at, the definition, we have what? We have some differences between them. Who can read, the first definition? Present perfect progressive versus. When we say versus means what? Yes, again, it's totally difference. Good. Yes, Abdullah. Use the present perfect. That began in the past. Good. So here we use the present perfect progressive to talk about an action or situation that began in the past, continues up to now, and may continue what? In the future. Good. Now what about the الأستاذ كبحث الأحياء كما يقول اليوم خلاص ليش؟ Okay. Now who wants to read, the second definition? Go ahead, right?
Doctor asked about the number of times or quantity amount that something has been done.
Good. So you realize here, we use the present perfect progressive to talk about an action, situation, began in the past and continues into the present. For example, I have been studying English for 6 years. What does, this mean? It means, I started, the past 6 years ago, and, I'm still what? Studying up to now, and, may continue in the future. Use the present perfect to talk about an action, about, the number of times or quantity. So this is, the difference between them. If you want to focus on time, the duration of time, we use what? The present perfect progressive. But if you want to focus, the number of things done, we use what? The present perfect. For example, I have studied 6 books. I cannot say I have been studying 6 books.
Can I say I studied so?
I
Can I say I studied?
Yes. What does it mean? I have studied 6 books. It means that up to now, I studied 6 books. Maybe next year I will, study what I will be studying what 7 or 8 books. So here it means it started in the past, happening up to now, and may continue. Studied. Studied, if you want to talk about the past, we use studied. If you want to talk about something happened, happened in the past, still happening up to now, you will say, I have studied. Now I study. I'm studying now. This semester, I'm studying, this book. So here we use what? The present. Studied, yes, present progressive. So we use the present perfect simple to talk about what? To talk or ask about the number of times or the quantity. Look here. Say how you things have been done. Talking about things what have been done, or how many times something has been done. Now let's read the examples together. Okay, I'll read the first example. The examples about the examples. Present perfect progressive. You realize here we focus on what? Time, good. We focus on, the duration of time. So here we can use what? The present perfect progressive. And I think we can use what? The present perfect. Present perfect and the present perfect, progressive are used with, actions, focusing on what? Time. But if you want to focus on things, have done, we have to use just what? The present perfect. Look at the second example here. Khaif, read.
She has read 30
Look here. She has read 30 pages. We focus on what? Quantity things. Or yes, or the numbers, we focus on what the number which has been done, She has read up to now, what, 30 pages. If you ask her, after, an hour, she will be what? Achieved or, read what? 60 maybe. Good. We cannot say she has been reading 30 pages. She has been reading 60 pages. We cannot say.
So it's funny, I think she just gets speeches as if they were watching. She has been reading the same text pages.
Yes, we can say. Good. Good. Very good. We can. Look here. Hanan has been reading a book for 2 hours. We can say Hanan has read a book, for 2 hours. If you want to focus on time, we can use both, the tenses. The present perfect will be present perfect and progressive. But if you want to focus on, the quantity, how many, in other words, the number of things done, we use just the present perfect. Is it clear, Shabab? Look at the questions here. If you want to ask about, the duration of time, we use with what? How long? Okay, read the question. Okay.
How long have you been reading that book?
How long have you been reading that book? Now, if you want to answer, I have been reading, that book for 2 hours, for 2 days, etc. Since 9 o'clock, since last day. But if you want to talk about, the quantity or the number of things done, we ask with what? Yes. How many pages have you read? How many pages? How many books have you read? So, we have to answer with what? With the present perfect form. I have read 30 pages. I have read 6 books. Who can read, the next example? Yes.
Said has been playing football since he was 10.
Good. You realize here also we focus on what? We focus on
Focus on the
time. Good. So if you want to focus on time, or, the duration of time, okay, how long something has been happening? It has been happening, since he was what? 10 up to now. Okay, started when he was 10, happening up to now and, may continue in the future. Saeed has been playing football since he was 10. Now, if you want to ask about, the teams which he played with up to now, we ask how many teams has he played for? Okay. Well, he has played for 3 different teams. Okay, who can read, the question? Yes, Muhammad. Here. Good. How long have you been playing football? I have, playing football مثلا since مثلا last year, since I was 11. Now, if you want to talk, if you want to ask about, the teams which you have played with, how many teams have you played for? I have, played for 3 teams, 3 different teams, 4 teams. Okay, so this is about the present perfect and, present perfect progressive. You realize here, we want to explain it on the board, then we will. Sure. Okay. Sometimes we have it right on, Okay, so here the present perfect progressive used with what?
Asking about time, duration.
Used when we talk about what? The duration of time or time. In other words, focus in. Focus on time. Look at the example. I have been reading for 2 hours. I have been reading for 2 hours. So you realize here we focus on what? On time. Started what?
In the past.
In the past. Now, future. Here. 6 o'clock. Now 8 o'clock. Happening in the past, still happening up to now, and it may continue what? In the future. And the present perfect progressive. Present perfect tense used
When asking about the amount
When-
of one to something.
good. Talk about things done, quantity of things, number of things. Focus on quantity, number of things. This is, the difference between them. For example, I have read 30 pages.
And that's really.
So really, look here. Up to now, I finished 13 pages. And I will continue. Look here, the timeline. This is in the past. Now, future. Here, what? Up to now, I finished what? 30 what? Pages, and then, I continue. I may continue. So, if you want to focus on time, we have to use the present perfect progressive. If you want to focus on, the number of things done, we use the present perfect. You will realize that we can use the present perfect with what? With time. For example, we use present perfect also. If you want to focus on time, I have, yes, I have read for 2 hours. And then you realize, you want to focus on time, you can use present perfect progressive or present perfect. But if you want to focus on things or the number of things done, just we use what? Present perfect. We cannot say, well, I have been reading before 30 pages. Okay? Question. How can have just have a picture of one section. Send it to the group. Safran. Okay. Send it to her. Okay. Now let's continue. Switch on. Now let's move to the next. Here we have, adjectives ended with the prepositions. After prepositions, we have to use what? The ing form. We have to use the ing form. Look at the example. Look at the example in your books. Yes. The six. No, definitely not the what? Thank you, right. Okay. Now look at the examples talking about, the adjectives followed by prepositions. In this case, we have to what? To use the gerund. Now, what do you mean by gerund? Abdullah? If you want to use the gerund, it means what? Gerund means ing form. Gerund. Okay, who can read, the first example? Yes, what's your name? Go ahead. I'm good at computers. I'm good at using computers. We cannot say, well, I'm good at use. Here we have what? A preposition, so it must be followed by ing form. I'm good at gerund. Gerund will ing form, followed by what? Preceded by a preposition. Basil. Basil, are you here, Basil? Ahmed Sliman. Read the second example. I'm interested in.
Yes, Mr. I'm interested in working outdoors.
Good. You realize here we have an adjective followed by what? A preposition. So, in this case, we have to add ing form. We have to use the gerund. Gerund, as we said before, verb with ing form. Verb with ing form. Gerund. You are interested in working outdoors. Okay, read the next. Yes. Abdullah.
I'm interested in walking outdoor.
Good. I'm not very good at speaking in public. I'm not interested in working in the computer industry. So these, the examples that we have about, the adjectives followed by, prepositions. In this case, we have to use what the gerund. Okay. Present perfect progressive. Here, if you want to ask about, the period of time, we ask with what? How long? How long something has been happening? We have, read the example.
Reading for a novel. So,
Good. We have been reading a novel for 2 hours. Started, 2 hours ago. Still what? Reading up to now. And, we may continue in the future. We have been reading a novel for 2 hours.
reading has been reading, it's reading.
Good. You realize here we can use since before. If you want to talk about, from that point of time, we use since. Since Monday. Since 9 o'clock, since last week, etc. But for used with what? The number of days, number of weeks, number of years, for 2 hours, for 2 weeks, for 3 months, for 5 days. Now, if you want to ask, we ask with how great the
They have to be playing football.
God, how long have you been playing football? Now, if you want to answer, you have to use what the perfect progressive. You can use what, here we focus on time. I have been playing football, مثلا, for an hour or since 9 o'clock, etc. You're good. The present perfect, if you remember, we ask about, the things done or, the number of things done up to now. How many things have you done or how many times? Okay. They have eaten, the pizza 3 times a week. 3 times. Here we focus on what? The number. Good. We have, I have washed, 3 thoughts. Started in the past. Up to now, I, achieved the 3 thoughts. He has read up to now 10 books. For example, if you ask him, after a month, maybe he will say, I have read 12 books. How many games have you played? So if you want to ask about, the number of things, done, we ask with how many. If you want to ask about the duration time, we ask with what? How long? Good. There, present perfect progressive, present perfect simple. by gerund, using what? Verb with ing as a noun, used as a noun. A verb in and ing that's used as page 22, just so use 1 minute. Text and about jobs on page 20 here just already, and find sentences that are present perfect, progressive, the present perfect. I think it is easy. This is on page 20. Exercise these are that we use, progressive. You can do it in your half. Now look at exercise B. معانا ضرب الشباب. اوكي. Okay. Exercise B, شباب. Again, choose the correct verb. Number 1. Yes, Muhammad. Good. You realize here for 3 months, we focus on what? Duration of time. So we choose what? I have been looking for a job for 3 months, and I'm still looking for, a job. Started, 3 months ago up to now. Want to continue, and I'm still, yes. No, number 1 here. I'm still. I still haven't known. Good, and I'm still haven't, found one. Good. Number 2 is Khalid. My father.
has worked.
Good.
Has worked at
Many different jobs. Here we have what? During his career. My father has worked at many different jobs during his career. Good. Number 3, Ghaith.
Adnan has
Good. Has been writing here, but he, Azadin, good. Any award about numbers? How many award has he, received? None. Or none. Good. So we use what? The present perfect with numbers of on. Good. Have you read? And we ask with how many? I wrote it. Okay. Let's continue with the next exercise. Exercise. Now write answers to the following questions about your study of English. Who can read the first question? Yes, Abdullah. Here.
How long have you been studying?
You know, here we have different answers. Okay. How long have you been studying English? I have been studying English for 6 years, 10 years. That's up to you. Yeah. I have been, studying English for 6 years, 7 years. That's up to you. Now, what about can read the question, Khalid?
How many English?
Teachers, you had. So here we have to use the present perfect because we asked about what? The number. The quantity. Yes, I have mathematics, 3 English teachers. Yes. Up to now, how many books have you used up to now? I have, studied or I have used 6 books.
Can you say that number two? How many English teachers have you that you had? Can you say the English teachers that I have had?
I have 3 English teachers, yes.
Can you
As you can, but it won't be a complete sentence.
Yes, good. Well, not, it will be incomplete, good. Number 4. Right?
How long have you been using this book? I have been using this book for 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks, good. I have been using this book for 3 weeks, good. Okay, exercise D. Work with a partner, make sentences, follow the example. In other words, we are going to use what? A sentence with present perfect and a sentence with what? Present perfect progressive. One, not just one, but here we have to use the adjectives. Look at the example. Hakim, photography studio, 1 year. Taking pictures, photographer. Who can read the example? Who can read the example? Yes.
Hakim's been working at a photography studio for a year. He's good at taking pictures and he's interested in becoming a photographer.
Good, thank you. Number 1. Faiz, restaurant, 6 months. Bake things. Chef. Yes, Sultan. Faiz. Good. Faiz has been working in a restaurant for 6 months. Good. He's good at baking things, and yes, and he's interested in becoming one day what? A chef. Good. Number 2. Rifah, nursing home, 2 years. Herb always is nurse. يلا يا غيث.
Rifah has been working in a nursing home for 2 years.
Good.
She's
Good at, or she's interested in,
she's good at nursing and loves to help her ladies.
Good. She's interested in becoming a nurse, and she is good at helping all the ladies. Yeah, that's up to you. Number 3. يلا Khaled. Yahya has been working for a newspaper for a while. He is good at what? making interviews or interviewing people. Also, he is interested in what? Becoming a reporter. Just write one example.
Yes, one.
Yes. Okay, this is stop here. Okay, 1 minute. Picture it, yeah.